Grand rising, grand arrival, grand return. Peace and blessings to the righteous and the repentant alike. I'm Chief Sophia of the Americana Band of Indians, and this is a reading of 1Esdras 3, 1 through 4, 41, which is basically chapters 3 and 4 of 1Esdras. You can find this in some of your pseudepigraphas. I found this online. This story is extremely important. It is called the debate of the three bodyguards, and it is how Zerubbabel, who is rendered on screen, became the governor of Judea. King Darius actually made him the governor as a result of this speech. Zerubbabel is mentioned by name in the prophecy or the visions of Zechariah, and he is the one who rebuilds the second temple. Now, this is a reminder that the first temple that was built by Solomon was never supposed to be built, but Solomon was granted the ability to build this temple as a result of the fact that he tricked a woman, the queen of Sheba, Queen Makeda, into sleeping with him, and she bore him a son, which he did not know of, Solomon only having 3 children. And the son wished to meet his father, so Queen Makeda sends him to Solomon, and Solomon decides that he is going to make this son king. He calls his name David. So this is another King David, the son of Solomon, and he decides to send the firstborn of all of his children with King David back to quote unquote Ethiopia, which we know is the DMV region. Okay, so when Solomon left with the firstborn of his entire cabinet of advisors, these young men came up with a plan. And the plan was they were going to steal the Ark of the Covenant from the high priest off the place where it came from, which I believe is Haiti. And they brought it back to the DMV with the help of Michael, carrying them over top of the water. They got from Haiti to the DMV in one day practically, which even if you're going by boat, it's going to take you longer than a day. So this is the background to there needing to be a second temple. The first temple was destroyed, but the first temple was only built because Solomon was in such disrepair about the Ark of the Covenant being stolen from him right under his nose by the children of his top advisors that God allowed him to build a temple, because a temple was never supposed to be in a physical location. So that needs to be made exceedingly clear every time we talk about Solomon, because people don't know that part of the story, and yet it is a very important part of the story. We don't need a temple. There is no need for a temple. The temple was only built because the Ark of the Covenant was stolen from Solomon. And had it not been stolen and relocated, there would be no first temple. So there would be no third temple. So basically, this is how this all comes to be and how this prophecy is playing out. Now, this particular debate is very important, as I mentioned, to the story of Zechariah. And now I'm finding out it's also important to the story of Haggai, because Zerubbabel is called by Haggai as God's signet ring. Now, why would the Lord, God Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, choose Zerubbabel as his signet ring? It is in this speech. And therefore, if you do not understand this speech, you do not understand what is going on with Zerubbabel and why he is so vastly important to any sort of recapitulation, returning to our old ways. You have to understand the ways of Zerubbabel. So that's what we're going to discuss in this particular reading. So, the debate of the three bodyguards. Now King Darius gave a great banquet for all that were under him, and all that were born in his house, and all the nobles of Media and Persia, and the satraps, and the generals, and the governors that were under him, in the 127 satrapies from India to Ethiopia. They ate and drank, and when they were satisfied, they departed. And King Darius went to his bedroom, and went to sleep, and then awoke. Then the 3 young men of the bodyguard, who kept guard over the person of the king, said to one another, "Let us each state what one thing is the strongest." And to him whose statement seems wisest, Darius the king will give rich gifts and great honors of victory. He shall be clothed in purple, and drink from golden cups, and sleep on a gold bed, and have a chariot with gold bridles, and a turban of fine linen, and a necklace about his neck. And because of his wisdom, he shall sit next to Darius, and shall be called kinsman of Darius. Then each wrote his own statement, and they sealed them and put them under the pillow of Darius the king, and said, when the king wakes, they will give him the writing, and to the one whose statement the king and the 3 nobles of Persia judged to be the wisest, the victory shall be given according to what is written. The first wrote, wine is the strongest. The second wrote, the king is the strongest. The third wrote, women are the strongest, but truth is victor over all things. When the king awoke, they took the writing and gave it to him, and he read it. Then he sent and summoned the nobles of Persia and Media, and the satraps and the generals and the governors and the prefects. And he took his seat in the council chamber, and the writing was read in their presence. And he said, call the young men, and they shall explain their statements. So they were summoned and came in. And they said to them, explain to us what you have written. The speech about wine. The first who had spoken of the strength of wine began, said, gentlemen, how is wine the strongest? It leads astray the minds of all who drink it. It makes equal the mind of the king and the orphan, of the slave and the free, of the poor and the rich. It turns every thought to feasting and mirth, and forgets all sorrow and debt. It makes all hearts feel rich, forgets kings and satraps, and makes everyone talk in millions. When men drink, they forget to be friendly with friends and brothers, and before long they draw their swords. And when they recover from the wine, they do not remember what they have done. Gentlemen, is not wine the strongest, since it forces men to do these things? When he said this, he stopped speaking. The speech about the king. Then the second, who had spoken of the strength of the king, began to speak. Gentlemen, are not men strongest, who rule over the land and sea and all that is in them? But the king is stronger. He is their Lord and master, and whatever he says to them, they obey. If he tells them to make war on one another, they do it. And if he sends them out against the enemy, they go and conquer mountains, walls, and towers. They kill and are killed, and do not disobey the king's command. If they win the victory, they bring everything to the king, whatever spoil they take and everything else. Likewise, those who do not serve in the army or make war, but till the soil whenever they sow, reap the harvest and bring some to the king. And they compel one another to pay taxes to the king. And yet he is only one man. If he tells them to kill, they kill. If he tells them to release, they release. If he tells them to attack, they attack. If he tells them to lay waste, they lay waste. If he tells them to build, they build. If he tells them to cut down, they cut down. If he tells them to plant, they plant. All his people and his armies obey him. Moreover, he reclines, he eats, he drinks and sleeps. But they keep watch around him, and no one may go to attend his own affairs, nor do they disobey him. Gentlemen, why is not the king the strongest, since he is to be obeyed in this fashion? And he stopped speaking. The speech about women. Then the third, that is Zerubbabel, who had spoken of women in truth, began to speak. Gentlemen, is not the king great? And are not men many? And is not wine strong? Who then is their master? Or who is their Lord? Is it not women? Women gave birth to the king and to every people that rules over sea and land. From women they came, and women brought up the very men who plant the vineyards from which comes wine. Women make men's clothes. They bring men glory. Men cannot exist without women. If men gather gold and silver or any other beautiful thing, and then see a woman lovely in appearance and beauty, they let all those things go and gape at her, and with open mouths stare at her. and all prefer her to gold or silver or any other beautiful thing. A man leaves his own father who brought him up and his own country and cleaves to his wife. With his wife, he ends his days with no thought of his father or his mother or his country. Hence, you must realize that women rule over you. Do you not labor and toil and bring everything and give it to women? A man takes his sword and goes out to travel and rob and steal to sail the sea and rivers. He faces lions and he walks in darkness. And when he steals and robs and plunders, he brings it back to the woman he loves. A man loves his wife more than his father or his mother. Many men have lost their minds because of women and have become slaves because of them. Many have perished or stumbled or sinned because of women. And now, do you not believe me? Is not the king great in his power? Do not all lands fear to touch him? Yet I have seen him with a pain, the king's concubine, the daughter of illustrious Barticus. She would sit at the king's right hand and take the crown from the king's head and put it on her own and slap the king with her left hand. And at this, the king would gaze at her with mouth agape. If she smiles at him, he laughs. If she loses her temper with him, he flatters her, that she may be reconciled to him. Gentlemen, why are not women strong, since they do such things? The speech about truth. Then the nobles looked at one another and began to speak about truth. Gentlemen, are not women strong? The earth is vast and heaven is high, and the sun is swift in its course, for it makes the circuit of the heavens and returns to its place in one day. Is he not great who does these things? But truth is great and stronger than all these things. The whole earth calls upon truth, and heaven blesses her. All God's work quake and tremble, and with him there is nothing unrighteous. Wine is unrighteous, the king is unrighteous, women are unrighteous, all the sons of men are unrighteous, all their works are unrighteous, and all such things. There is no truth in them, and in their unrighteousness they will perish. But truth endures and is strong forever, and lives and prevails forever and ever. With her there is no particularity or preference, but she does what is righteous instead of anything that is unrighteous or wicked. All men approve her deeds, and there is nothing unrighteous in her judgment. To her belongs the strength and the kingship and the power and the majesty of all the ages. Blessed be the God of truth. He ceased speaking. Then all the people shouted and said, Great is truth and strongest of all. Shalom, peace and blessings, and we'll see you in the next video.